Hello, welcome to Create a Flow Live. I'm Alicia Jacobs, and today I'm going to show you how to turn Apple Reminders into a personal productivity assistant. If you are missing deadlines, even though you set reminders and notifications and all the things, or maybe your life is a mix of sticky notes, phone alerts, and a complete chaos, don't worry. Tonight I got you. By the end of this session, you'll never forget an important task, and you can use your iPhone and your iPad along with Apple reminders effectively. So, we're going to get into it. Before that, let me just double check one thing because we are streaming on YouTube as well as Substack. So if you're on Substack, I'm trying to pull up my stream. Let me know in the comments if you can see uh the stream. Okay, perfect. And welcome, welcome, welcome. So listen, before I figured out this whole thing of using Apple reminders and leveling up my productivity, I would have multiple different tools I was using, but also I was constantly dropping the ball with regards to remembering important notifications, more or less important tasks. I had reminders in Notion, in the Apple Reminders app, in planners, written planners. But somehow there came a time when I would literally forget or miss either a client follow up or even content deadlines. And so I had to make a conscious change to find a system that it works for me, that is applicable across all devices, and I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, but I needed something that was very simple. It's one thing to use a specific piece of software or a specific tool. There is a whole different situation in terms of setting it up the right way so that you can stay consistent with it and it doesn't feel like just another thing and you're going through the motion about it. So tonight I am going to share with you how you can build a system that supports the way you think, the way you flow, even your brain, because we have a ton of things that we are managing as creatives, as online business owners, and life outside of business, that's a whole other story altogether. And that can become taxing and it becomes a heavy burden that we all carry. So, I'm going to show you how to create a system that actually works for you instead of against you. And this is how we're supposed to be using technology on the whole. So I'm going to switch over to my iPad and we're going to get started on how you can set up Apple reminders like a pro. All right. One moment. Okay. Now, when it comes to, before we get into the actual setup, there's some core elements that I want you to take into consideration when it comes to using Apple reminders. Yes, the app is always there on our different devices, but there are actual settings that you can toggle on and off that makes the app more effective. So if we're gonna go into settings and we're gonna come all the way down to apps, and then we are going to go into reminders. Right? Now, when we go into reminders, it would show you your reminders accounts. If you have an iCloud account, which you're supposed to have, you can have one for personal and one for business, so you can attach that as well. If you have your Gmail or your Google Workspace accounts coming in where it does give you the option to have reminders. You can also put them in there as well. So the reminders accounts would be depending upon how many emails you have signed in to your actual devices. All right. So the next thing is that you can allow reminders to have certain access. In this case, it can be location if you want it to be while you're using. Now, if you're going to be using Apple reminders on the personal side, which I'm going to show you later on in terms of grocery shopping, or certain locations you go to, you want to be reminded of certain things, then you can state if you want to use it, your location to be turned on while you're using it or always on. So it does give you the option to say you either never give it access or ask next time or when I share or while you're using that app. And you can also turn off or turn on your precise location. Again, this is going to be good if you are setting up reminders for specific locations. All right. So we're going to go back. And then we have Apple Intelligence and Siri. I forgot. So with Apple Intelligence and our AI assistant, you can either turn it off, you can state if you want Apple Intelligence to learn from this app. You can show suggestions in the app. So basically, with Apple Intelligence and with the AI and all the things that they're integrated into the different apps and even iPad OS as a whole, what you will find is that if you're constantly putting in the same task over and over and over and over again, what you will find is that over time it's learning from the app, it's learning your everyday or weekly behaviors. And so when you start typing certain task names in, it's going to automatically suggest the name of that task and maybe a specific time. So this is where you can either turn off if you don't want it to learn, or you can leave it on, right? So it does give you the option to have Apple Intelligence and Siri in the app. Also, it does give you the option to have the search options. And the other important core element I want you to pay attention to, and usually it's on automatically, but as a safe practice, just look at your notifications. So your notifications, you want to ensure that you're allowing all notifications, especially if you're going to be using Apple reminders as your task manager. You want to ensure that all your notifications are turned on. You make sure that you have the time sensitive notifications turned off. Now, there's some cases where the alerts can be on or off, but by default, you want to ensure that your alerts are on the lock screen, the notification center, as well as the banner that appears at the top of your devices. Now, when it comes to the banners, what is most interesting, you can say if you want it to be temporary or persistent. And this is a way of keeping you accountable to the tasks that you have put into Apple reminders. If it's persistent, it's always going to be as a banner at the top of your device until you go into that specific task or reminder and you either check it complete or you you maybe reschedule the task or whatever. So you can choose if you want it to be temporary or persistent. If you're now starting out using Apple reminders, I would recommend you actually using the persistent option until you develop that muscle of consistency using the app. Then you can switch it back out to temporary. But by default, it's usually set to temporary. All right. You can adjust your songs. You can either turn off or turn on the badges. That's the little I or the number that actually appears to the top of the app logo or so. All right. You can also have your notifications announced and you have your lock screen appearance if you want it to always show up as a preview. or you can have your notification grouping if it's automatic by app or off. These are just some standard defaults that are already turned on by your device. And it also gives you the option to summarize your notifications, which is the Apple Intelligence summarize feature as well. So these are some of like the core elements and settings that is essential when it comes to actually using Apple reminders as at a pro level or setting it up in that pro. You want to make sure that you're setting it up effectively and the right way so it can be very helpful and beneficial to you. All right. So the next thing is that once you have all of this set up, the next thing I want you to think about, how are you going to actually use Apple reminders? Are you going to use it for business? Are you going to use it for um are you going to use it for business? Are you going to use it for content? Are you going to be using it for different aspects of your life and business? So you really understand why are you going to be using Apple reminders, but also most importantly, once you have a clarity of how you're going to use it, the next thing I want you to think about, what are those different categories? So for example, the categories that you can have would be personal, anything relating to your personal life, you can put it under that category. Anything relating to business, you put it under there. Anything relating to content or your creative work, you put it in there. Anything relating to let me see another category. Let's say, for example, you use Apple reminders for groceries or shopping or meal planning or so forth. Whatever are those functional areas that you want to manage and not feel too overwhelmed, I would advise you to get into creating a hierarchy or a list or categories that you're going to place your different tasks in. So we are going to switch back over and I'm going to show you how to get started with creating your functional, clean, and minimal lists or categories inside of Apple Reminders. So I'm going to go over into Apple Reminders. When you open up the app, your layout may look a little different from mine because I have customized the layout significantly to how I was using it. So on the left hand side, you would see all the things that you have due for today, what is scheduled, and I do believe you do see all the other options like all, flag, completed, assigned to me. So your layout may have all of this already shown, and then you have your different email accounts. By default, iCloud is usually there, but if you have other mail accounts that have that reminders option, then it's going to be listed here. So you see my own with my company name and my name. That is from my company mailbox, and it does have the reminders option. You also have the tags, which allows you to categorize your various tasks inside of Apple Reminders. All right. So this is like the functional layout of Apple Reminders. You also have uh, how you can organize it. I'm going to show you how to set all of this up. But when it comes to your list hierarchy and creating your categories, you go about doing this to the using the add list option to the bottom left. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to create your categories, and then we're going to deal with the actual build outs and all the things. So to the bottom left, you're going to tap on or click on add list, and then it's going to ask me where I want to actually uh s- save these lists in. Now, because I have an ecosystem of I have access to multiple devices within the Apple ecosystem, I want it to be accessible on any device. Whether I'm on my phone, I should be able to see my tasks. If I'm on my MacBook Pro, I want to be able to see my tasks. And so I'm going to put it in iCloud. All right. So I'm going to tap on iCloud. All right. And the first things I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put in the name. All right, so in this case, the first one I'm going to set up is personal. I'm going to leave it as a, just bring this over here. I'm going to leave it as the list type. I can choose if it's standard, groceries, or smart list. All right, I'm going to leave it just as a standard list. I may want to change the color and choose a color that you can commit to memory. So anytime you see tasks with that specific color, you know exactly it's pertaining to which category. All right. So personal, because I like blue, I will leave it at that. And if I want, I can come in here and I can actually change my icon. So I'm going to change it to this house and I'm going to tap on done. So notice on the left there, the first category comes in. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to create one for work, or I can call this business. I'm going to put it to this green color and I'm going to change the icon out and tap on done. All right. And again, you can be super, super creative with your categories. Use terms and names that work for you. All right. I'm just using these by default. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you is, let's say, example from a personal perspective. You want to use Apple reminders for groceries. Um, Notice the list type. We're going to change it out to groceries, and I'm going to show you a cool way, and it's super cool in terms of that groceries option. I'm going to put it to this light pink. And I am going to look for a shopping cart. Hopefully there is a shopping cart. Yes. All right. And I'm going to tap on done. And then I think I'm going to create one other one and I'm going to call this goals. All right. I may, let me see. You have to just call it priorities. All right. So priorities, I'm going to leave this as standard. I'm going to switch it out to this maybe this orange, and I am going to mm, use this color. All right, so tap. So those are my categories or my list hierarchy. So I know anything that I'm going to do is going to fall into these different categories. All right. Now, the next thing is, and you see when I was setting up the list, there was three different list types. You had um standard, you had groceries, and you had smart list. Now basically smart list is an internal function inside of Apple reminders where it can automatically filter different tasks into specific folders or specific categories that you set up. Now, let me see. Yeah. So, what I want to do, I may want to create a smart list that keeps me organized when it comes to different types of tasks that I know that I'm going to be setting up inside of Apple reminders. So, in this case, I'm going to hit on add list. I'm going to tap on iCloud again. And this time I'm going to actually call this content. All right. And where I have the list type, I am going to change that to smart list. Now, once I select smart list, now I have to add a filter. In order for things to get into the smart list, there must have a trigger or a filter. All right. So I'm going to tap on edit filters. And that can be a tag. It can be date, time, location, flag, priority, or from within a specific list. So in this case, I'm going to select tags. I'm going to select all selected tags and I'm going to choose content. So any task that has that tag called content, it's going to go into that content smart list. So I'm going to tap on done. All right. I'm going to change out the color to this soft pink and maybe I'll just put it on that and hit on done. Now notice smart list shows up a little different in the list category, because notice you have that little settings icon appearing next to the actual icon that you would have selected. So anytime you see that, you know that it's a smart list, and that is going to automatically populate based on the filter or the trigger that you select, right? So that's basically how you deal with smart lists. Now, if I want to add tags specific to personal work, creative work, my priorities, and all of these things, I can set that up right off the bat. So this is the foundational of you actually setting up Apple reminders before you start plugging in your various tasks and all the things. So to the left, where you have the section called tags, you're going to tap on that button that says all tags. And to the right hand side there, where you see the little hashtag symbol or the number sign, you're going to tap on that. And notice I already have content already in there. But if you go to custom, here is where you can actually come in and create your tags off the bat. Again, you can, as you go along, you would add to the list. But if you're now starting and you're setting up for the first time, this is a great starting place because you're building the foundation on which you're going to work on. All right. So in this case, I'm going to choose one called personal. Anything relating to personal, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do creative work. Ooh, so I'm going to use creative. I'm going to do business. All right. And I'll create another one called priority. Right? So those are my different tags. Tags is a great way for you to categorize and organize. So, and this has been a new feature that has been added. So though I have them in there, when I'm actually setting up my tasks, they will actually appearing there. Let me see what happened there. Alrighty. Right? So we have our tags added. Now the next thing is dealing with templates. Now, I'm a person that loves templates because creating the same thing over and over and over again is repetitive, and you're spending too much time doing the same thing over and over again. So, as a rule of thumb, you want to create templates that allow you to save time. If you find yourself rebuilding stuff with the same reminders list every single time, you can actually create a template for it, and all you need to do is just create from that template. So, for example, if I wanted to, I have two sets of templates. If I press these three dots to the top and I go to templates, I have two templates already in there. I have one called Maximize My Day, and then I have one called Max My Day Out. All right. So I can actually create different lists from those templates. Now, let's say, for example, for the work side, I may not want to actually create this from scratch. What I would simply do, I can delete this out. I can go back to add lists, choose iCloud, and then I'm going to call this business. All right. I am going to, I think it's a recall. I think I choose that before. And instead of choosing a blank list, I'm going to head to templates, and then I can choose Max My Day Out. I can give it the name again. Mm, and tap on create. All right. And notice business comes in here and it's showing 7. All right. And I think it's because I've created that template from what I already had there before. So let me see if the other one is empty. I think the other one is empty. Let me go back here and I choose this one. All right. Yeah. All of them have something. All right. Perfect. All right. So notice it fills in the columns, it fills in what those different priorities and actual tasks looks like. So if I'm creating this every single time, I may have multiple different lists for multiple different things. I don't want to be having to set up this layout every single time. I can actually do it once and actually save it as a template. Now, how do you actually do this? To the top right where you have those three dots, you're going to tap there. And let me move myself down a little so you guys can see. Okay. And where you have save as template, you tap on that, you give it a name, and then you tap on save. And that's basically how you actually create a template. So over time, as you're building out your various lists for different activities, maybe you have events and you want to be reminded of certain things that you need to get done. If it's a party, if it's a special occasion, and you want to have a dedicated list for that event, you can develop the layout once, save it as a template. And so the next time you have an event, the next time you have a function, or a special event, you can use that specific template. This is the beauty of templates, and it also allows you to save time. You don't have to spend time thinking, oh, I can't remember how I set up the last list. Let me think again. That's too much, right? We have too much things to do. And so, to make your life easier and save time, work with your templates. Okay. So that is where you work with templates, make stuff easy for you. You can duplicate it, you can tweak it, and you get that done very quickly. All right. Now, by default, once you set up a list, this is the standard layout of how it will look like. I do not like this layout. This layout is more applicable for if you're using your iPhone. I would, if I'm using my iPad or I'm using my MacBook or Mac OS as a whole, I prefer the columns layout, which gives you that table format and you're able to see and track your tasks and all the things that you need to get done in a more organized way. This layout is more applicable for your phone. All right. So, how do we actually change this layout? To the top right, we can click on the three dots and then you can select the option that says view as columns. Once you tap view as columns, notice it changes and now you have a wider spread, especially if you're on a larger device. And so you can see what your top priorities are, what is your to-do list, what is your in progress, and what is completed. Very, very simple. All right. For personal, I will design it that way as well. If I want, I can tap the three dots as well. I can view as columns, and then I can tap back these three dots. I can go to new column, and I can say this new column. I would say, I would call these priorities as well. What are my, instead of saying priorities, I'll just make a different. What are some of my urgent things that I need to get done? Right? Go back to manage columns, edit column or new column. I'm going to call this important. If you join me in my last live, we did talk about the Eisenhower approach when it comes to tasks. So, what is urgent? What is important? And then I can also select this option to say show completed. I can put that in there as well, or I can take it out. If I want, I can go back here and I can also choose to save it. Save it. All right. So if the personal design it the way you want to design it, I want to know what are some of my urgent things that I need to do. If it's specific appointments, what is important, and you can basically build this out based on how you operate and how you flow. right? Now with the groceries, that's the most interesting part, and a lot of people use Apple Notes if you have a quick grocery run. And but there is a grocery feature that is inside of Apple Reminders that I don't think a lot of people actually know. But it's very effective, and I'm going to show you something. So if say, well, okay, I want to purchase something for groceries. Let's say it's eggs, for example, right? And I press on enter. Let me go. Okay, there we go. Once I press enter and I tap on done, notice what Apple Reminders does. It actually categorizes eggs under the dairy, eggs, and cheese. All right. Um, and these categories are built in. So if I go here and I say bread, it goes on to breads and cereal. If I want let's say cauliflower, it goes on to produce. Now, again, a lot of people do not know that this actually exists, but it does. So if you needed a different system for shopping, you can do so. Now, here was the beautiful thing that you can do about this. You can create one for specific places that you shop. Let's say you shop at Costco or you shop at Sam's Cart or one of those places, and there's specific things that you buy every 3 months or every 2 months or every month. You can literally create a specific grocery list with the name of the place, for example, and then you can have that reoccurring task or reoccurring thing that you buy every single month or every 3 months. This really helps, especially for those people who do a lot of shopping. All right. And again, a lot of people did not know that this exists in here, or they see it, but they bypass it. But this is a very good way on the personal side and how you can keep track of your produce. All right, I'm checking the comments. Uh, yeah, facts. All right, so you have someone saying, Freddie saying, so I can be in different sections and get everything I need from that specific section in the store. Let's go. Yes, this is a game changer. When I saw it, and I stumbled across it because I set up all the other, all the other types. And I was like, let me see what the grocery does. I was not expecting it to categorize the thing that I put in there. I was like, oh, I need to show this to my community. So this is a game changer. So you can create specific lists for different stores, and then you can do your thing and have your list. So, and the reason why I say you can do it like this, because if I go here, let's say for example, I choose something, I buy bulk from, let's say, Costco, for example. I just want to show you guys that. All right, and I choose groceries. So then a color. Um, so I may have that Costco list, and some people's Apple reminders list could be quite long and extensive. So I know that there's certain items that I may need to get from Costco. Let's say, for example, paper towel. Right? You buy that baby every month. That is a household item. All right. So what I would do, I would tap on this, tap the I, and what I can do, I can say, well, okay, this is actually a maybe it's a high priority, but with the date and time, if I turn on date and time, I'm trying to get, once I put it on a date, maybe I'm saying, okay, maybe this Saturday I need to go to Costco to buy paper towels. But this is something that repeats every single month or every 2 months or 3 months. So I would say, okay, I may need to be reminded maybe 2 days before. And where you have repeat, you can tap there. Ooh, let me move myself out of the way a little. right. Mm, okay. All right. So I can say this is every 3 months. Maybe I buy so much paper towel in bulk that it lasts me 3 months, or it may last 6 months or monthly. All right. So I can choose every 3 months on that specific date. And it can either repeat forever or it can repeat at a specific, or you can end it at a specific date. Once I tap that, I'm going to tap on done and notice every 3 months on the 7th, let's say, for example, it's going to remind me that I need to go to Costco to actually purchase my paper towels. So, what I want you to take away when it comes to using Apple reminders, and I know I talk about it in my various communities. Yes, you can use it for business. Yes, you can use it for creative work, but it can also help you stay organized on the back end or the personal side because we have life outside of business. So it's important for you to actually um have some amount of structure and order to your everyday life. All right, if I can put it like that. So this is a great way for you to use Apple reminders in that way. Now, here is what I want you to do. Let me know. I want to ask you this question. Let me know what's the one task you always forget, even if you set a reminder on your phone. What's that one task that you forget? Let me know in the chat or the comments because I want to see what it is that you actually that slips through the cracks. And once you identify that one thing that you keep forgetting all the time, you can actually create that reminder system inside of Apple Reminders that eliminates those moments of which those tasks slip away from you. So let me know in the chat or in the comments. Right? Now, the other thing we're going to look at is integrations. And so with integrations, Apple Reminders does integrate with your Apple Calendar. I am so happy that this integration happened because now you're able to have your reminder showing up on your calendar. It's one thing to put down a task, it's a totally different situation to actually execute and follow through with that task. A lot of people can write a lot of to do lists. But when you ask them at the end of the week how much items on that to do list they were able to accomplish, you will find that it might be one or it might be none of the tasks they were able to complete. Most of the times when you see persons are overwhelmed and they are not being able to accomplish their tasks in an effective way, or they're struggling to execute, is because they do not have a follow through system. So yes, Apple Reminders becomes your task manager. But what is going to really help you execute and stay consistent and save time and level up your productivity and all those things is you actually um, following through with it and putting it on your calendar and sticking and getting the stuff done. Right. So the first integration that we look at is your the one with the calendar. And so if I have priority one, for example, priority one, I can tap the I and I can put a date on priority one. All right. Once I set a date, I know that it's going to show up on my calendar. So if I go over into, I'm going to split my view. I'm going to go over into my calendar and notice if I go into the day, it's going to show that I have a priority one. Now, let's say, for example, if I tap on that, it's going to show me the details and it will take me right back into Apple Reminders. Now, one thing I forgot to do, I can put it as an all day event, but I want to may say this priority one has a time that I need to get it completed. So I put a date and a time and I tap on done. And notice it automatically adjusts on the calendar on the right. So taking it from the task manager, listing it to actually putting it on your calendar so you're able to get it done is very important, and that is your way, your follow through system or your execution system. All right. You can also share, I'm going to close this out for now, but you can also share your reminders or your lists with your clients if you have a list for clients, or if you have collaborations and you're working with multiple people and you guys have a ton of things, or you're working on a project and you have things to do, you can actually create it in here and then you can share it with someone. So if I was to share, let's say, my personal board, for example, to the top right, I would tap on the share button and then I would basically choose who I want to share it with. It can be collaborative, it could be a collaboration, or I can send it as a message, and that is one way in which I can actually share my iCloud list. If somebody checks off that they complete something on that list, I'm able to have a notification and I would see in real time that that specific item was actually completed. So these are the different little features and integrations that comes with Apple Reminders. You can also use Siri to and I have to say her because I have multiple devices that will activate. But you can use Siri shortcuts to automate your common reminders. So for example, and I'm just gonna activate her down at the bottom here. Uh Let me use it the other way. Add makeup remover to my groceries list. All right. And she added it there, right? And once I go in there, notice she categorized it as personal care and health makeup remover. All right. You can do this for other, but again, this is where Siri shortcuts and even speaking to her actually helps when it comes to if you're on the go or you doing something and you remember that you have this thing to do and you don't want to forget it. This is a great way to add it in as well. All right. uh Let me know in the chat. I'll take a break. Let me know in the chat how this is going in terms of you learning the foundations and more or less how to actually effectively set up Apple Reminders. If you learned anything new, let me know in the comments and chat. I'll definitely like to know. For me, the reason why I was heavy on using Apple Reminders is because I needed a system that was very simple. I do not like overcomplicated systems. And what I find, once it's simple and it's functional and effective, I can work with it, right? And so the extra stuff and the extra bells and whistles doesn't do it for me. I'm a minimalist but functional. And though I'm in the tech field, it's quite interesting for liking minimal and functional. But I needed something that can not only manage my tasks but also help me to stay consistent and execute on those tasks. And the beautiful part about it is that it's free. All right, you don't have to pay a subscription. Now there are other things that are available out there like to-do lists. You have Monday, Asana, Notion, and the list goes on in terms of task management, and those more focus in project management at a deeper level. But like tell my communities and clients, start simple, start with what is available to you, develop the discipline, develop the consistency, develop all the things that you and learn how to manage your time effectively with the different tools that are available to you for free. And then you can scale and grow into the paid subscriptions when you want to expand, when different things become more complex, then is when you can expand into your more heavier solutions that are out there and that you can definitely pay for. right? So that is a note to have, right? So the other thing I want to share with you, so I did share with you, is that you can also use your AI assistant to actually help you create recurring reminders. Again, you just need to talk to her, and a lot of people either turn her off or don't want to use her at all because she can be a little too much for you. So I can say, remind me to post on Instagram every Friday at 11 a.m. and put this inside of the business list. All right. Now, ooh, thank you. She just deleted it too. Now, sometimes she can be a little too much, but again, you talk to her like if you were actually talking to an assistant, and what you'll find that over time, you will find that she would definitely do what you ask her to do. And again, you have to be very direct with the instructions that you give to her. So if I say, remind me to post on Instagram every Friday at 11 a.m., right? So she did schedule that. And I think she did put it for the 6th. Ooh, where did she put it though? So there's some things that I definitely need to get her into. Uh, ooh, let me go back there. Put it on the all. All right. She did put it in. Just gotta find where she put it. Hmm. All right. Remind me to post on Instagram every Friday at 11 a.m. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. So that's basically like using your natural language to work with Siri, and you don't have to touch your screen. She will do it for you. Another thing is that she does you can actually have subtasks, and these are some of like the advanced or additional features that comes with your reminders, is that if I put 3 here, you can scroll down. And remember, I talked about the tags. You can say if you want this to be a content, or you can say it's business. So if I put business, or let me just put content so you can see the how the smart list actually works. So if I put in the tag is content, you can choose if you want it to be a specific location. You can flag it, you can put it in different priorities. You can choose if you want to have it in the same list or you want to add it to your smart list, and you can also have subtasks. So the subtask is like you have a bigger project or a main priority, but in order to finish that main priority, there's several different things that you need to get done in order for that bigger thing to be completed. You can have it as a sub task. Now, again, these subtasks can have dates as well. So, though you have your, ooh, let me go back here. Though you have your overall task that is due, you can go to the I, and then you can state, well, okay, in order for me to complete priority 1 tomorrow at 11 a.m., I may need to do something by 7 a.m. in order for it to be completed. So, not today, tomorrow, right? So, the sub items are the things that I need to get done in order for me to reach that deadline tomorrow at 11 a.m., right? Also, you can get Apple reminders to remind you about, like, if you're traveling, you can get it add it to your calendar where it will actually remind you when you reach a certain location, what you need to do. If you have a checklist, when you're traveling, you can actually create that list. And so it will remind you and you can populate it over and over again. All right. Now, when it comes to staying focused with your various lists and it's appearing on your devices, I would recommend that you actually add it to your home screen, whichever device it is. So if I go into, I'm going to tap on hold my home screen here and I go to edit, add widget, and I go down to reminders. All right. I may want to see all my reminders. So I'm going to tap on add widget. I'm going to hit on done, but I'm going to press and hold on this, edit that widget. And then instead of choosing the default list, I may want it to show me which one that I want to be on my home screen the most. If it's business, if the device is used for business, then it's the business device, it's the business list. If it's the personal phone or so, I may want the personal to be there. If it's my grocery list that I may want to remember that I have to go and buy stuff, and then I can put it in there. So whichever one is applicable to you. So I'm going to choose business. All right, I'm going to tap away. And so it's going to show me all the things that I have due under that business list. And notice this is how it will actually appear in the widget. So every time you pick up your device, you will see your priorities first. You won't have any distractions. You won't feel too overwhelmed in what you have to do. Now, as you complete the stuff, what you can simply do, you can simply tap and say, well, okay, item 3 is complete. And you can just tap in the circles that that is completed. Right? So basically, that is what I would have used as my own personal workflow, not only for business, but also for content. And on the personal side, I got my list sorted by the categories. I created smart lists. And if you notice, because we put priority one that the tag was content, notice it's coming into that smart list. I also have like reoccurring tasks. Like if I have like a reset or a weekly system where I want to check and see what I've done, what is completed, or what I have to push forward. I do that every Friday. So that's a standing um task that repeats every single Friday. All right. So I use well, a couple months ago I was using Notion and Apple Reminders and Apple Calendar. And those were my actual workflows and systems that actually kept me productive, saved me so much time. I didn't have to pay for no additional subscription outside of Notion. And also I have it accessible on every single device. Right? Okay, so that is basically how I set up and how I teach my communities to set up Apple reminders. If this session helped you, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like, share, and all the good things. And also let me know your favorite tip in the comments. If you're viewing this on the replay, let me know in the comments how this has benefited you and which one you're excited to try out. I see some people say they can't wait to try out the groceries one. Let me know how that works out. And if you want to go even deeper when it comes to using tech solutions more effectively for work, life, and your creative work and business and all the things, join my weekly newsletter community called Creative Flow Newsletter. The link is in the description. I share all things relating to tech solutions and how you can effectively maximize tech so you can level up your productivity and not operate in chaos. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to Create a Flow. I will see you in the next one. Bye.